In the first seat, we have Max on Etalie Primal Conquer. How this deck works is it tries to cast its commander, and it hopes that the game ends. Max's opening hand has a Forest, Namesticker Goblin, Elvish Spirit Guide, and a Hellsky Courser. In second, we have Luis on Princess Buttercup. He keeps 2 lands, a Cabbage Merchant, a Unicorn, a Split-Second card, a Mox, and a Mental Misstep. In third, we have Sohil. He keeps 2 lands, a bit of ramp, and a Song of Creation. Then in fourth, we have Dallin on Kinnan Modern Prodigy. He keeps a Mox, an Ancient Tomb, a Grim Monolith, a Fabricate, and another land. Looks like everybody except Sissay had some tough mulligans. Anyway, let's get into it. Max plays a snow-covered forest as land for turn, and then he casts a Lion's Eye Diamond before shipping it to Luis. Luis plays a land for turn and uses it to cast Mana Vault. He then ships it. Sohil plays a land. He plays Paradise Mill, and then he casts Mox Opal. Sohil then ships it to Kinnan. Kinnan plays Ancient Tomb and pays 2 life to cast Grim Monolith. Max draws a card for turn and does literally nothing before shipping it to Luis. Luis untaps, plays a fetch land, then he casts Arcane Signet and Cabbage Merchant before shipping it to Sohil. Sohil plays a forest as land for turn and passes it to Dallin. Dallin plays a land for turn. He then casts Talisman of Curiosity. This triggers the Cabbage Merchant and Luis makes a food. Dallin then passes the turn. Max draws a card for turn and is still unable to do anything at all, so he ships it to Luis. Luis draws, plays a land, and casts Fabro Elder before passing to Sohil. Sohil casts Rograk, Son of Roha, and then he uses one of his mana to equip Paradise Mantle to his new creature before passing it to Dallin. Dallin draws and plays a land for turn. He casts his commander, Kinnan. He then casts Fabricate and gets the One Ring. He casts the One Ring and activates it to get a burden counter and draw a card. Dallin then passes the turn. Max casts a Tinderwall. Max then sacrifices the Tinderwall and pitches an Elvish Spirit Guide to cast Namesticker Goblin. Namesticker Goblin enters the battlefield and Max creates 6 red mana. He uses that 6 red mana to cast Hellsky Courser and put Etalie into play. From the Etalie ETB, Max gets a Bloom Tender, Squee the Immortal, Pinnacle Monk, and Mental Misstep. The Mental Misstep has no targets, so Max does not cast the Mental Misstep. With Pinnacle Monk on the stack, Max cracks his Lion's Eye Diamond for 3 red mana. Pinnacle Monk enters the battlefield, and Max returns Elvish Evolution to his hand. Squee the Immortal and Bloom Tender then also enter the battlefield. Max then casts Eldritch Evolution, sacrificing his Namesticker Goblin. This triggers the Cabbage Merchant and Luis makes a food. Max goes and gets Rionia onto the battlefield. Max goes to combat and he makes 2 copies of Etalie. The first copy gets him Hullbreaker Whore, Strike It Rich, Sylvan Tutor, and Veil of Summer. Max sends his original Etalie into the command zone. Luis casts Mental Misstep, countering the Sylvan Tutor. Luis also has 3 Cabbage Merchant triggers and makes 3 food. Max then has Hullbreaker Whore enter the battlefield, casts Strike It Rich, and Veil of Summer draws him a card. Max's second Etalie enters the battlefield, and he gets a Chrome Mox, Springleaf Drum, Mystic Remora, and Veil of Summer. Max casts all of them. He gets 4 Hullbreaker Whore triggers, and Luis gets 4 foods from the Cabbage Merchant. The 4 Hullbreaker Whore triggers target the Cabbage Merchant, Luis's Elder, Rograk, and Kinnan. Luis responds with Legolas's Quick Reflexes, giving his Hullbreaker Whore Shroud or Hexproof, making it so that it cannot be bounced to his hand. The Cabbage Merchant, Rograk, and Kinnan are all then returned to their hand. Max then has Mox Amber, Springleaf Drum, Mystic Remora, and Veil of Summer all resolve. Veil of Summer draws Max a card. Max, who is still in combat, swings his copy of Etalie at Luis. Luis takes the 7 damage. Max shocks in the backside of his Pinnacle Monk as a land for turn, and then taps it and his 3 mana to cast Roaming Throne. Max then evokes out Fury, pitching his Houseguy Courser. He pings down Kinnan and Rograk before passing the turn to Luis. Luis uses 3 mana to cast the Cabbage Merchant. Luis then uses his foods from the Cabbage Merchant to cast Sissay, Weatherlight Captain. Luis then passes to Sohil. Sohil untaps, can't do anything, and passes to Kinnan. Kinnan untaps, takes 2 damage from his One Ring Burden, then uses his One Ring to draw 2 cards. Dallin then casts Kinnan. Dallin then casts Mox Opal. This triggers Rhystic Remora and the Cabbage Merchant. Dallin then casts Crow Mox. This again triggers Mystic Remora and the Cabbage Merchant. Dallin imprints Mirror Maid to his Crow Mox. Dallin then uses his Moxes to cast Trophy Mage. With Trophy Mage, he gets Basalt Monolith. Dallin then casts Basalt Monolith. This triggers the Cabbage Merchant and Mystic Remora. Dallin then activates his Basalt Monolith to make infinite colorless mana. Dallin then casts Treasure Vault as land for turn. Dallin activates Treasure Vault, where X is a zillion and makes a zillion treasures. From here, he can activate Kinnan as many times as he needs before he hits Thrasios, which draws him to his deck and wins him the game. Gosh dang, I cannot beat Kinnan no matter what, bro. However, had I just returned the One Ring to Dallin's hand instead of bouncing something less significant, then he wouldn't have drawn his 2 Moxes, and I likely would have won on my next turn or sometime soon with Etalie. Well, now we know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.